Did you ever talk to somebody or read an article that somebody's written where you say to yourself, hey, that person just doesn't get it? Well, that happened to me. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And I want to talk to you today about an article that I read by a lady named Ixty Lopez. First name is spelled I-T-X-Y, a lady. And she describes herself as not an expert, not a guru, just a self-help writer trying to be as honest as possible and hoping to make a few people feel less alone along the way. Okay, everyone's entitled to their opinion, everyone's entitled to write, but when they do so in an area where you feel that you have some experience and some expertise, sometimes they can get your blood boiling, they can jar your preserves, which is exactly what happened to me when I read this particular article. And I want to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. First of all, so you can feel what I feel, all right? Sort of the empathy. Now, my family, my grandparents on my dad's side grew up in, we're in the Boston area. So everybody started off in the Boston area. And if you live in the Boston area, everybody loves one thing without reservation. And you know what that is? It's the Boston Red Sox. Everybody in the Boston area feels a deep affection for the Boston Red Sox. And I thought that was the way it was. Everybody roots for their local baseball team, but I lived in many different parts of the country. And the passion for the Red Sox in the Boston, New England area is unmatched in any other part of the country, with the possible exception of St. Louis. Now, I know there are diehard fans in every area, people that are, just super duper fans. But the number of them, the majority of the people, is just astounding. All right? So that's my premise. I'm telling you that people in the Boston area just absolutely love the Red Sox. So what has this got to do with anything? Okay. My cousin, whom I love, married a lawyer from New York. And she went to live in New York. Okay? And we loved him, okay? I mean, very smart guy, very personable guy. They had children, and they had one of their children had a rite of passage, and the whole family was gathering for this rite of passage in New York. I flew in from, California. I was living in California at the time. People from Florida, they were, so everybody flew into that part of the country. We flew into New York for the ceremony. And then after the ceremony was over, the following day, everybody's leaving to go to the airport. She had, let's have a going away breakfast. So we had a breakfast. Everybody's gathered, at this breakfast. And she hands out to everybody a New York Yankees baseball hat. Everybody just kind of looked at everybody else and said, what the heck are you thinking, giving us a New York Yankees, the arch rival of the Red Sox, baseball hat? Do you want us all to burn them right here at the table? And, she didn't get it. She didn't get it. That was what she hinted out. She didn't get it. So you follow what I'm saying? Sometimes somebody just doesn't get it. That's the case with, in my very humble opinion, Ms. Lopez. Not an expert, not a guru. I would have to agree. The title of her article is 5 Myths About Successful People That You Should Ignore. Why you shouldn't blindly follow advice. Okay, I can agree with that so far. So what are the 5 myths that you should ignore? Well, I disagree with every single one of her points wholeheartedly. and I'm going to go over them with you. And the why and because I'm doing that is not because I'm a critic. It's because this is the thinking of the 95% crowd. This is the thinking of the masses. And this is the reason why they remain in the 95% crowd. And I'm going to go over it point by point. My major mentor, Bob Anderson, I was living in his house with Bob and his wife. So I not only got to spend time with him for a couple of months, and it was like the best education I ever had. I got to spend time with him when it wasn't work time. And that was so productive for me because I was able to see how the 5%ers think. And he would often point out to me, when I would say something, he said, you know what? That's 5%er thinking. That's 5%er thinking. Stop thinking like that. Here's the way, that's 95%er thinking. Stop thinking like that. Start thinking like a 5%er. You want to be a 5%er? Think like a 5%er. And then he would explain to me why what I was thinking was wrong and why what the 5%ers were thinking was right. And he was right every time. And I just learned so much, not just being with him in a business setting, but also in a casual setting. He never stopped teaching, and I never stopped learning. So I want to go over some things. This is as close as, I can't invite you all to live in my house, so I want to go over with you some of, these points that this lady makes. All right, I'm going to read directly from her article. 5 myths of successful people you should ignore. First one, always be productive. Do 10 push-ups during commercials. Listen to an educational podcast while you work out. Don't just sit in the waiting room. Use that time to read an article. Always be doing something, because if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. But what about not moving at all? What about being present? What about freezing a moment in time? I enjoy reading self-help books and listening to Jay Shetty or Tim Ferriss's podcast. I like working and being productive. But all the time? Every minute of every day? In between all the moments of real work? The people who give this type of advice, the entrepreneurs I should say, have to understand how insane this sounds. There's a difference between taking a long drive and wanting to listen to a podcast and feeling the need to listen to one for fear of wasting time. Growth and hard work are important. We all know by now that you don't have a choice but to work hard to reach your goals, but that doesn't mean you only have to work. Besides, real work matters and busy work doesn't. It won't typically get you anywhere. Refuse to give in to the pressure to be endlessly productive. Life was meant to be lived, not hacked. We're not robots, designed merely for production. If you want to sit in a waiting room and daydream and process and think, you can. Your life isn't falling backward because you choose to read a fictional book over a non-fiction one. That's called living. Work should be a part of living. It shouldn't be your life. Sit for a moment. Romanticize your experience with music. Relax and read books. Learn an instrument or write a poem just because you darn well feel like it. Resist the urge to work. Okay, that's the author of this article. Why did that get my blood boiling when I read it? Because she doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. All right? 95% crowd versus the 5% crowd. If you know that you're going to be sitting in a waiting room, if you know that you're going to be taking a long drive, if you know there's going to be some, for lack of a better term, dead time, that to go from one on a plane with, as an example, or you're waiting to board the plane or whatever, you don't have to bring this. You don't have to. Why not? All right. One of the things that people complain about is, I don't have time. I don't have time. And it's a badge of honor that they wear proudly on their chest, like a medal that they received from the president. I don't have time. You know what? time is the one thing that you can never get back. You can lose your house, you can lose a spouse, you can lose almost anything, but the one thing that you never ever going to get back is your time. And one of the things that's critical about being an achiever is that you have that singleness of focus, that singleness of purpose, and that you're thinking about your burning desire. And when you do that, all the things around you start to connect with that one thought, and that helps to make you more creative. It helps you to connect things that were formerly ubiquitous in your life that you now connect to. Oh yeah, I see how that connects with whatever your burning desire is. And it gives you ideas. It allows you to be more creative because you're connecting more things. And under the heading of time, if you know you're going to be someplace, bring something with you that will help maintain your focus. Bring something with you that will help you to expand your knowledge. Now, as far as like taking a long trip is concerned, you're there, you're listening to, a podcast, or back in my day, listening to self-help tapes. I mean, I learned closes in selling, going back and forth when I lived in Santa Cruz and my office was in San Jose, 50-minute trip back and forth. I listened to the tape over and over and over again. I became the guy on the tape. I learned the closes. It's positive. The other thing is, when you take up, when you're sitting in the waiting room, she says, if you want to sit in a waiting room and daydream and process and think, you can. Not only can you, but it's encouraged. One of the things that the 5% crowd does is they give themselves some thinking time. Now, I have disciplined quiet thinking time every morning, but that doesn't mean I can't have disciplined quiet thinking time other times of the day. So you can be sitting in a waiting room and you can be thinking about stuff. You can be reflecting, reviewing, in your own little world. That's a good thing to do. That's not a negative. She's in like, well, if you want to daydream, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing to do. It's something that you want to do. Your life isn't falling backward because you choose to read a fictional book or a nonfiction one. That's the idea. You want to read different books, get different perspectives, and you want to encourage yourself to get different paradigms. Those are good things. Those are not bad things. Why? She's looking at it as like, well, you shouldn't read a nonfiction, you shouldn't read a fiction book. Of course you should. It gives you new ideas. It gives you new opinions from other people. And you want to have those. And you will, when you have that singleness of purpose, you'll actually connect some of the things that you hadn't even thought of to the thing that you are dedicated to. The other thing is, when you're taking a long drive, one of the things is you have a relaxed focus. Guess what? You're driving the car, you better keep your eye on the road. But you're not super intense on every single, line in the road. You're watching, you're aware, but at the same time you have a relaxed focus. That is the time when the infinite mind, the ultimate partner, will give you a mind flash. You'll see something, you'll think about something, you'll hear something. That's a good thing. So instead of looking at those things as negatives, those things are positives. Does that make sense? Can you see why I was so upset, not upset, but just disturbed by this lady doesn't get it? And that's the first of 5 myths. So we're going to go over some more of these myths because, to my thinking, if this lady is, if Ms. Lopez is thinking these thoughts, then other people are thinking these exact same thoughts. And they're doing so because they're using 95% thinking instead of 5% thinking. That's what we want to focus on. We want to get you to think the way the successful people think and not the way the masses think. Because if you want to get premium results, you have to think the way premium achievers achieve. And always remember, hey, don't ration the passion, fashion the passion. I'm Eli's dad.